You are exhausted. Maybe you don't even know exactly why, but you feel it. You feel like you are always carrying an invisible weight, as if it's your unspoken duty to keep everything in balance. Please everyone, avoid conflicts, always be kind, understanding, and polite. Since childhood, you were taught that being a good person was the right thing to do, that kindness would naturally be reciprocated, that it's enough to be fair, diligent, honest, and the world will reward you for that. But what if I told you that all of this is a lie? A comfortable lie taught to keep you controllable, predictable, and well-behaved. How many times have you kept quiet just to maintain peace? How many times have you erased yourself just to avoid disappointing anyone? How many times have you let someone disrespect you, take advantage of you, swallowed your anger, resentment, and pride in the name of a supposed virtue that only made you be ignored? But the uncomfortable truth is that the world does not reward the nice guys. The world rewards the strategic ones. If you're here, it's because you've been disappointed trying to be the nice guy, the dependable friend, the understanding soul. And now, you're beginning to see the pattern. The more you seek approval, the less you're respected. The more you compromise, the more people take. The more you give, the more you're taken for granted. And that's where Machiavelli enters the picture. Not the villain he's often portrayed to be, but perhaps one of the first to speak the raw truth about how power actually works. He understood something most people don't want to face. That being perceived as good is not the same as being effective, respected, or just. That morality, when separated from reality, becomes a trap. In this video, we're going to drop the masks. We're going to talk openly about why you need to stop trying to be a good person. And no, that doesn't mean becoming ruthless or heartless. It means waking up, letting go of the naive belief that the world is fair and that virtue alone guarantees recognition. Because as long as you're trying to please everyone, you're at their mercy. Do you still believe that the world values good people? Look around you. Who are the most admired? Who holds leadership positions? Who earns respect, influence, space? Are they the most generous, the most compassionate, the most just? Or are they the most strategic, the most assertive, and the hardest to manipulate? The truth is brutal. The world is not ruled by kindness, but by competence. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The Prince wasn't a manual for cruelty. It was a revelation of how power operates. And one of his most sobering lessons is this: being good is not enough. In fact, being good is often the fastest way to be overlooked, used, and tossed aside. You can live your whole life being loyal, kind, and selfless, but the moment you're no longer useful, you'll be forgotten. And the worst part? They won't even feel guilty about it. The world doesn't measure you by your morals. It measures you by your output, your impact, your influence, your value in the game. Have you noticed how the nice guys are always the ones apologizing, explaining, trying to prove their worth, while those who set firm boundaries, who say no without guilt, who stand tall, get respect, get heard, and take up space? Why? Because blind kindness is often mistaken for weakness. Those who never push back, never challenge, never assert themselves don't command respect. They don't pose a threat. And what doesn't pose a threat is seen as a tool, not a person. You can wear yourself out trying to please everyone, but if you don't carry power or the potential for consequence, people won't think twice about using you. Machiavelli once said that if a leader must choose, it's better to be feared than loved. Why? Because true respect comes not from affection, but from the understanding that you are someone who cannot be stepped on without repercussion, that you are not easily replaced, that you are not here to be convenient. And this doesn't just apply to rulers or CEOs, it applies to you. You are here to matter. So now it's time to look deeper. It's time to understand where this unhealthy desire to be accepted all the time comes from. Because behind that endless kindness, there's often something hidden, something much older, a fear you've carried for years. And in the next part, we're going to uncover it. We'll dive into the psychological roots of the people-pleaser archetype and reveal why being nice is often just a well-disguised form of fear. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and support the channel. Thank you. It means a lot. Now let's go deeper. You weren't born trying to please everyone. That instinct was taught to you. And worse, it was conditioned into you. From an early age, you learned that acceptance came with a cost. the sacrifice of your authenticity. You were trained to smile when you didn't want to swallow your opinions, to suppress your needs, all for the sake of approval. From hearing "don't do that, it's not nice," to "be polite, don't talk back," you gradually shaped yourself to match what others wanted to see. But here's the part no one tells you. Constant people-pleasing is not kindness. It's a psychological trap, a mental cage built from sweet-sounding praise and punishments disguised as love. You were taught that if you were agreeable, you'd be loved. That if you ever got angry, said no, or put yourself first, you'd be cast aside. So you did what any adaptive mind does when survival is on the line: you conformed. But that survival instinct eventually became submission. Now you struggle to say no without guilt. You carry the emotional weight of everyone around you, even if it crushes you. You get hurt but keep smiling. You get disappointed but you forgive too quickly. You live drained, constantly trying to project an image others expect from you. Not because it's who you are, but because it once felt like the only way to be safe. But here's a reality check. This is not kindness. This is fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of not being loved. Fear of being seen as a bad person. Fear of being who you really are. A person with desires, with anger, with boundaries, with a voice. And this fear has turned you into someone who sabotages themselves. Someone who hides behind socially accepted but emotionally destructive behavior. And the most tragic part? You don't even realize you're doing this. You call it empathy, but it's fear of confrontation. You call it understanding, but it's fear of abandonment. You call it kindness, but it's fear of not being enough. Your kindness is in fact a mask, an unconscious strategy to avoid the pain of rejection. But this mask has a very high cost. It suffocates your authenticity, your power, and your dignity. And if you don't take off this mask, it will stick to your skin. It will become your identity. And one day you will look in the mirror and no longer know who you truly are. But there is a way back. And to find it, we need to learn from someone who understood the power of image, perception, and strategy like no one else: Machiavelli. In the next part, we will get straight to the point. What the prince can teach us about how to stop being a hostage to our need to appear good and start being respected for who we really are. If you're trying to live as a good person, hoping that others will recognize your morality, your ethics, and your integrity, stop now. Machiavelli warned over 500 years ago, "This path is beautiful but dangerous. In the real world, it is not the good who win, it is the effective who win." And effectiveness in the game of life requires strategy. It requires understanding that people do not act motivated by your goodness. They act driven by interest, fear, and power. In The Prince, Machiavelli writes, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few feel what you really are." This sentence is a punch. It unmasks the illusion that being true, pure, and authentic is enough to earn respect. The reality is harsh. People do not see your intention. They react to your appearance, your image, your impact. You may be the most just person in the world, but if you seem weak, you will be treated as weak. You may have the most generous heart, but if you do not inspire respect, you will be ignored. And that is why anyone who wants to take control of their own life cannot be naive. You must appear virtuous when it is convenient and be strategic when it is necessary. Machiavelli says, "The prince must know how to use the nature of the animal well. He must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to terrify wolves." This is a brutally true metaphor. The fox is cunning, sees hidden dangers, knows how to move silently. The lion, on the other hand, imposes fear, strength, presence. Machiavelli does not say to be just one or the other. He says be both. Be wise enough to perceive who is manipulating you and strong enough to make others think twice before trying. Do you want to be respected? Then understand. The virtue that Machiavelli recommends is not the one preached by moralists. It is a mix of courage, intelligence, audacity, and self-control. It is to act with coldness when necessary. It is to know that sometimes appearing cruel is the only way to maintain order. Not out of malice, but out of wisdom. Here's another quote from him. "A man who wishes to act in all circumstances like a good man is doomed to ruin among so many who are not good." And you know this. You have been that man. You have tried to be good in every situation. And what did you gain? Abuse, silence, injustice. People do not play fair. And if you continue to play as if they do, you will always lose. This does not mean abandoning your values. It means stopping using them as shackles. It means starting to act with power. To think about how your goodness is being perceived and used by others. Machiavelli was not cynical. He was realistic. He saw humanity without romanticism, without veils. And he wrote The Prince as a manual for surviving in a world where appearance is power and weakness disguised as virtue is a death sentence. But perhaps now you are wondering, is there any way to balance this? How can I stop being naive without becoming a cold or evil person? In the next part, we will break the false idea that you only have two choices, to be nice or to be cruel. There is a middle path, and it begins with the strength to stop deceiving yourself. There is a fatal confusion that destroys the lives of many people. The idea that to be good, one must be submissive. That to be a good person, it is necessary to accept everything in silence, forgive everything without questioning, and live swallowing what bothers you to maintain peace. This is not kindness. This is naivety. It is cowardice disguised as virtue. And if you do not understand this difference, you will continue to be the emotional doormat of the world. True kindness does not require you to nullify yourself. It requires awareness, clarity, choice. Being good does not mean being a cheerful fool who is always available, always smiling, always sacrificing for those who wouldn't lift a finger for you. This is self-abandonment. It is emotional dependency disguised as morality. Naivety believes that people will treat you with the same heart that you have. Naivety believes that the world is fair and that if you are integral, others will recognize that. Naivety expects gratitude, reciprocity, consideration. And it lives frustrated. It lives disappointed because it is projecting onto others a nobility that does not exist. True kindness is different. It is firm. It knows how to say no. It knows how to walk away. It understands that not everyone deserves your best, and that giving your best to those who have nothing to offer in return is waste, not generosity. You can be a just, compassionate, and integral person and still be feared. Be respected. Be someone who commands presence, who knows what they tolerate and what they do not accept. Machiavelli, despite seeming cruel to modern eyes, did not hate virtue. He hated naivety. He knew that in a world full of predators, kindness without strength is just fresh meat in the middle of the jungle. The question you need to ask yourself now is your kindness protecting you or exposing you? Is it strengthening you or destroying you? Because if your idea of being good involves living by swallowing injustices, accepting crumbs, and blaming yourself for feeling anger, then you are not being good. You are being dominated. And there is an antidote to this. There is a balance point where you do not have to give up your essence, but you also do not have to kneel before anyone. A place where you can act with courage, clarity, and emotional intelligence. In the next part, we will explore this path. We will talk about how to stop being nice without becoming a scoundrel, and finally take control of your life without betraying yourself. If you want to regain your self-respect, this is where the transformation begins. Many people who wake up to their own submission fall into a dangerous mistake. They believe they need to become cold, insensitive, almost cruel to stop being nice. This is the famous rebound effect. After years of being exploited, you think the only way out is to become the opposite. Someone tough, indifferent, calculating. But this is yet another trap. Because when you abandon your essence, you are not strengthening yourself. You are protecting yourself through denial. And that's not freedom. It is trauma disguised as power. True liberation happens when you learn to be whole, when you stop acting for others and start acting for yourself. It's not about being good or bad. It's about being real. It's knowing that you can be kind but not passive, that you can be compassionate but you will never again be taken advantage of. That you can extend a hand, but you will no longer beg to be seen. So how do you stop being nice without betraying who you are? First, you have to understand that your voice matters. You have been conditioned to think that complaining, setting boundaries, or disagreeing is selfish. But that is a lie. Selfishness is expecting you to live silently while others speak over you. Speaking up, taking a stand, saying, "I do not accept this," that is dignity. It is self-respect. Second, you have to practice saying no. Saying no is one of the most liberating acts there is. And it doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be shouted. A calm, firm, and non-negotiable no has more power than 1,000 justifications. Because it communicates the essential: you have limits. And those who have limits are respected. Those who do not are exploited. Third, you have to observe who is bothered by your change. These people are the thermometer. If you start to assert yourself and someone says that you are different, you are strange, you are selfish, it's because your submission was useful to them. When you change, you break the invisible pact that allowed them to use you. And that is uncomfortable. But don't be fooled. This is a sign of progress. Fourth, you have to stop trying to be understood by everyone. Not everyone will understand your transformation, and that's okay. You do not owe loyalty to the image they created of you. Your loyalty should be to your truth, to your peace, to your emotional health. Fifth, you have to replace the desire to be accepted with a commitment to authenticity. When you act authentically, you may even displease some, but you attract the respect of those who truly matter. And more than that, you start to respect yourself. And that is the kind of respect that no one can take away. Machiavelli did not write to teach you to be cruel. He wrote to teach you to stop being naive. And the greatest naivety is believing that being nice is enough to be respected in this world. It is not. It takes courage to abandon the role of pleaser. It takes strength to be who you are without asking for permission. But we're not done yet, because now comes the most critical moment of all. The moment of choice. Will you keep betraying yourself to be accepted, or will you finally take control of your life? In this final part, I'm going to speak plainly, directly, maybe even uncomfortably, because this needs to be said. Your obsession with being good might be costing you everything, and the time has come to decide. Do you want to be loved, or do you want to be free? Let's cut the illusions. How much longer will you keep pretending to be the nice guy? How much longer will you keep sacrificing your energy, your truth, your dignity, just to uphold an image that doesn't even belong to you? Do you really think this is noble? Do you think it's virtuous? It's not. It's a cage, a psychological and emotional prison. One lined with fake praise and hollow compliments designed to reward you for being safe, agreeable, forgettable. You're not being celebrated for who you are. You're being tolerated because you're harmless. And here's the part no one tells you. No one is coming to set you free. No one will show up and say, "Thanks for always being the bigger person. Here's your reward." That day will never come. Because as long as you're willing to be used, there will always be someone willing to use you. This isn't cynicism. It's reality. And reality doesn't respond to your good intentions. It responds to presence, to power, to boundaries. You can keep trying to be the ideal good person that society taught you to be. Always calm, always agreeable, always available. But prepare yourself for a life of quiet frustration, invisible pain, and unspoken resentment. Or you can wake up. You can choose today that your kindness will no longer be a leash, that your goodness will be a conscious decision, not a reflex, that you will give only when it feels right, that your voice will be heard, that your no will be just as sacred as your yes, and most importantly, that you will stop living like you need permission to exist. Because here's the hard truth. The world only respects those who respect themselves. And freedom begins the moment you stop asking to be liked. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you said no without guilt? When was the last time you put yourself first and didn't apologize for it? When was the last time you did something solely for you without thinking about how others would react? Tell me in the comments. Tell your moment, the moment you realized being nice was slowly erasing you. Your story might be the spark that wakes someone else up. Because this conversation doesn't end here. There are thousands, millions of people silently living the same story. And if this video shook something in you, if it made you question the mask you've been wearing, then you have to watch the next one. Trust me, it's important. The journey is just beginning.